Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So this is the handicap analysis video. This is actually for the last 2 weeks, so there's quite a few horses in this video. It will also be split up into chapters, so each horse will have its own chapter at the bottom of the YouTube video. You'll be able to see the names of the horses, so you can skip to one if you're interested in a particular one, which is obviously useful for the likes of the owners group owners who might have an interest in a horse who I talk about a bit later. Some of the trainers that I know do have a listen to these videos. So let's start off looking at Aberama Gold. Aberama Gold has dropped £1 in the latest handicap marks, down to a mark now of 90. Now, this is clearly a very, very nice mark for Aberama Gold. Only this time last year, or around this time last year, he was winning the Stewards Cup of 95. He was winning at York, the Sky Bet Dash of 88. So the fact he's back down to 90 already demonstrates how well handicapped he is. He also won off 96 towards the end of last season. 2 of those came on heavy going, and that I think is key. I really think the horse, as soon as he gets that soft ground again, he's going to go close. And to be fair to him, he's not been running badly on the quicker ground. 3rd at Newmarket back in April, only beaten a length. 6th for 15 at Newmarket in May. These were decent efforts. He just wants a bit of cut in the ground as well. As soon as he gets that, and a bit more than he got last time. I think last time just wasn't enough. It was only good to soft at Ripon. Still ran okay. Finished 4th. Kind of got outpaced. I think the ground is really key to him. And to be fair, those horses in front of him were good horses as well, like Decoy Gold and Mr. Wagyu. Some nicely handicapped horses themselves. So, yeah, I just feel Aberama Gold, as soon as it becomes soft, he's going to go close in a feature handicap. Probably something like the Stewards Cup again. If they can get him in that again, off his 90 mark. Remember, he won it last year off 95. If it comes up soft or heavy, yeah, he's one that you definitely want to have in your NAGMI going forward. Aberama Gold. Second horse I want to talk about is, let's just wait for this to load, a horse called Bague D'or, who has been dropped £1 down to 95. Now, I highlighted him at Royal Ascot and felt he had a chance over 1.5 miles. But on the good to firm ground, the trip probably was too quick for him. He was also given a gentle ride out of the back by Daniel Muscat. And yeah, I just feel that he was ridden that if things fall into place, go for it. If they don't worry about it. We'll kick on again when we go back up in trip. And I think that's the key to him. I think he'll be back over 1.6 miles. It was only 2 runs ago that he won over 1.6 miles. He's got to go back up in trip. He finished 2nd last year, or yeah, it was actually in 2022, behind Trawlerman, only beating a length at Goodwood over 1.6 miles. Surely that's where he goes back. Yes, he's £7 higher, but Trawlerman, I'm just going to have a look. Trawlerman was rated 97 that day. He's now rated 118, so £21 higher. Bague D'or is only rated £7 higher. If they reopposed, you'd imagine that Bague D'or would go very close. And yeah, back up in trip. They got him dropped £1. Hopefully Daniel Muscat came in and went, yeah, he does need to go up in trip. He does need that 1.6 miles. And I'll be very keen on him if he turns up in this Coral Summer Handicap again over 1.6 miles. He's not performed badly in any of his last few runs. Ascot, go and watch the race. As I said, he was given far too much to do and quietly made late grounds. I'll be very keen on him at Goodwood. That's on the 3rd of August. The next horse I want to talk about is Bless Him. Bless Him has dropped £1 to 98 now. He's obviously a 10-year-old. So we're kind of running out of time with him. If you like the horse, obviously he's won a couple of races before at decent prices. He won the Bunbury Cup back in 2022 at 25 to 1, 39.18 on Betfair. Around the time that we started to say he was a horse that will pop up in a big handicap. It's been a while since he's won, and the handicap has been really unkind, I feel. He won that back in July 2022 of a mark of 101. He's still rated 98. He hasn't won in, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 runs, and he's dropped £3. Some horses have one disappointing run and they drop £3, £4, £5. He's just been very consistent, and the handicapper can't let him go. He's eventually starting to concede on him now, and to be fair, he was rated 100 at the end of last season. He came back off 98 and he ran a screamer at Ascot, finishing third, beaten a neck by the Wizdavai and Ramazan, with Hickory back in fourth. Off 98, you kind of want to give him one more chance in the fact that, he ran well at Ascot but then disappointed at Royal Ascot. Say disappointed, again, if you watch his run, he just ran like he does, out the back, never got closer, actually finished 5th of 12 in his group. If he'd finished 5th in the race, you'd have gone, yeah, it was a very good effort coming into his next run. Where is his next run going to be? It's surely going to be back for that Bunbury Cup again. He won the Bunbury Cup back in 2022, as I said, off a mark of 101. He then went to Ascot for the Moët and Chandon and finished second off 102. So, that's his type of year. His time of year. That came after finishing 7th in the Royal Hunt Cup. He was 13th this year in the Royal Hunt Cup. He's dropped a couple of pounds. He's nicely handicapped. I would be tempted to give him a chance at Newmarket in the Bunbury Cup. If you can get like 25s again, he's one that would be very, very interesting. So yeah, Bunbury Cup for bless him. That's not too long to wait. It's only 11 days. So I thought I would bring him up. Moving on to Fresh. Now, Fresh for me was actually one of my biggest eye catchers at Royal Ascot. He got absolutely no run down the near side in the Buckingham Palace Stakes. No run at all. Finished really strong. I'd love to see the finishing splits for some of his rivals. I imagine he finished quickest or close to being the quickest out of all of his runners, despite not getting a run and not being given a hard time by Hayley Turner. She didn't give him a ride after the horse was beaten. And because of that, dropped another pound. Looks very, very well handicapped. And yeah, where do I want to see him next? Go back for the Moët and Chandon. So it's over 7 furlongs at Ascot on the 27th of July. He's actually won this race back in July 2022 off 98. He's running off 99. He's running off 91. After winning off 98, he went back to Ascot in September and won again off 102. His form at Ascot's very good. He finished 5th, as I've mentioned before, in the Buckingham Palace last year off 101. He then finished, his disappointing run, his only disappointing one came in the Howden. When he went off the 9-2 favourite off 99, he's going to run off 91. Back to the course that he's run well at, the time he runs well, and he was very eye-catching last time. If, when they price up, let's hope not many people have seen this video, and they go 14, 16s about him for the Moët and Chandon International, I'll be very, very happy with that and confident he can run a big race. His last amount effort, it'll show a 7. It should have been a lot lower. I think he would have gone very close. He might not have beaten the winner. He would have definitely have placed for sure. Moving on to Grand Providence. Grand Providence has dropped £1. Dropped a pound to 89 after I thought he was given a poor ride actually at Newcastle. The horse looks slow. And what I mean by that is he's doesn't quicken. He just keeps grinding and keeps galloping. And the kind of ride he got from David Probert never gave him the chance to get involved. And he finished almost a never nearer 8th of 20. He didn't run terribly. He didn't run amazing. He was 8th. I think if he'd gone forward and tried to press on, particularly over 2 mile, half a furlong on the all-weather, which I always knock a couple of furlongs to 4 furlongs off the trip and say it's actually less than that. So he wasn't able to use his gallop and just, his grinding nature. And I felt it was a poor ride from David Probert. It was his first time back on board after he'd ridden him the first 3 rides of his career, or 3 runs of his career, where he'd done all right. But at that time, he was only young, the horse was, and he could get away with those shorter trips. Nowadays, he needs a lot further. But back up in trip, I think if they go forward on him, I would give him a big chance. particularly if they go to this race here, the 2.5 mile handicap at Goodwood on Friday the 2nd of August, obviously at the glorious Goodwood, or whatever it's called now, festival. He's been to Goodwood once before. He finished second, not beaten far. He was beaten a neck by Novel Legend. They were just in front of a Wagyu. Novel Legend is one of those horses that I think is nicely handicapped himself. He's one that he came out and ran a good race in the Queen's Prize at Kempton in April. Haven't actually seen that horse since, but I do think that Novel Legend will run a big race in a feature handicap somewhere. I think they're waiting for him. I don't know whether they might even be looking at the Melbourne Cup with him. Might need to get him slightly higher in the ratings. 98, does that get you a Melbourne Cup run? It might do. But yeah, I think that is good form. His defeat by Novel Legend, I think that was a very good run. Was only a 3-year-old. Still, I still feel he wanted a bit further as well. He kept on late on, because I just think he gallops Grand Providence. Go over 2.5, go to Goodwood, back to Goodwood, and I think he will run a really big race on Friday the 2nd of August. The next horse is Law of the Sea, dropped £1 to 88. And to be fair, he's disappointed the last twice, I feel. Disappointed at Haydock when maybe he didn't want the soft ground. But then he disappointed at Ascot where he'd actually previously run well. He was 4th in the race last year off 92. Got well beaten off 89. And do you know what? I kind of want them to drop Jim Crowley. I don't think Jim's given him good rides at all. He's had 4 goes on the horse. He got well beaten at Goodwood, beaten 43 lengths. He then got well beaten in the Cesarewitch. He then came back and got beat in the Chester Plate. Now, granted, he was beaten by the 2 Tony Martin horses. I don't care what people say. They were trained by Tony Martin then. They're still trained by Tony Martin. Alfonso Lagarde, who obviously went on to win the Northumberland Plate, and Hamsian. Hamsian ran a decent race behind Alfonso Lagarde, and we haven't seen him since. He's, probably going to pop up somewhere. But has he run since? I thought he'd actually run at Chester. Not Chester. I thought he'd run at where did I think he'd run? Somewhere. Ascot. I thought he'd run at Royal Ascot. I'm just trying to have a look. Maybe not. So, Law of the Sea was 3rd at Chester. I don't think it was the best of rides, though. He drifted over to that far side under Jim Crowley. And then last time out, again at Ascot, I don't think Jim gave him the best of rides. I don't really think he can get him to travel. Where do I think they go with Law of the Sea? So he's dropped another £1, as I said, to 88. Surely this has got to be the target. The Watergate Cup. It's good prize money. It's 40 grand for the winner. His 2 runs at Chester over trips have finished 4th in a Chester Cup and 3rd in a Chester Plate. This is slightly easier than both of those, the Watergate Cup, and yet it's for good prize money still. He looks a little bit difficult to place, and yeah, I think if they drop the jockey and put a different jockey on, this would be the long-term plan for me for Law of the Sea, the Chester Watergate Cup. And if they win that, they might get back into the Chester Cup for next season, where he could run as a 7-year-old. But yeah, the Watergate Cup is definitely one for Law of the Sea, and I hope we see Law of the Sea there later this season. Moving on to Lord Riddiford, who's dropped £1 to 82. That's kind of lucky, isn't it? I wonder if there's a race that he could run in. Maybe this 5 furlong handicap at Goodwood on Tuesday the 30th of July. If you're not aware, he's won it for the last 3 years. Interestingly, he's won it for the last 3 years, and yet he's gone off 13 to 2, 10 to 1, and 8 to 1. He went off last year at 8 to 1 off a mark of 84. He'd won the race off 87, and he'd won the race off 88. So he's won it off 88. Following year he won it off 87. Following year he won it off 84. This year he could turn off 82. I mean, surely it's going to be called the Lord Riddiford Coral Handicap Stakes. And yeah, this is where he's going to go. But as I've mentioned, he won at 8s, 10s and, what did I say the first time? 13 to 2. they go 7s, 8s again about Lord Riddiford on the back of some moderate runs, yeah, I'd be very hopeful of a big run. So that's one you want to keep an eye out for at Goodwood in the Coral Lord Riddiford Handicap Stakes on Tuesday the 30th of July. The next horse I want to talk about is Mr. Wagyu, who is actually running tomorrow back at Epsom. Now, he could well go very close at Epsom. I think he will go very close at Epsom. If he doesn't, and things don't quite work out, I hope they send him to the Curragh for the Paddy Power Scurry Handicap. So he's dropped £1 recently, down to 92. Send him to the Curragh. He's been there, I think he's been there 3 times. I'm just having a look on my other screen. He was last seen, let's have a look. Curragh. 1, 2, 3. Okay. July 2022, he went to the Curragh, rated 100, and he won. September 2022, he went back off 103 and he was 3rd. And then last time he went there, he was 3rd again off 95. So the fact he's currently rated 92, you'd think he'd have a massive chance if he bombs out tomorrow, if he disappoints tomorrow at Epsom. Got to go to the Curragh. I actually think he'll go really close tomorrow. And if he does go close and even win, I still hope he goes to the Curragh for the Scurry Handicap, because I think he'll still be well handicapped. You know, he's not going to go £8 for winning tomorrow, and he's won that race of 100 before. So yeah, hopefully there is next 2 runs: Epsom tomorrow, and then off to the Curragh on the 20th of July for the Paddy Power Scurry Handicap. We move on to Sommelier for, is it Marco Botti that trains Sommelier? It is indeed. Marco Botti and King Power, or the executives of the estate, it's King Power Racing Company Limited is the official owners. Sommelier. Disappointed at Royal Ascot for sure. I thought it was interesting that Ryan Moore was booked to ride, so Ryan wouldn't have just ridden anything. He wouldn't go, I'm going to ride that one that doesn't have a chance. But the horse definitely disappointed. But if you take his previous effort when he was second to Big Evs, that I think is really strong form. I do think Big Evs will be... I think he'll be able to win a Group 1 in the current climate, because I think the current sprinters are not top class. They're not proper Group 1 horses. So I think Big Evs will be able to win a Group 1. And on the basis of that, Sommelier finishing second was a very good effort. Sommelier's dropped down back to 98, was rated 98 when he ran in that race against Big Evs, albeit that was a listed event, so the handicap mark didn't really matter. But he's back down to 98. And where do you go with him? I think it's obvious again. He's run really good. You know, he ran a really good race at York. Go back to York for the Symphony Group Handicap Stakes on the 21st of August. Great prize money, 5 furlong sprint. If it was Ascot that didn't work, you know, he didn't like Ascot, but he does like York, you would imagine he can go very close here in the Symphony Group Handicap Stakes. The next horse I want to talk about actually runs today. I'm recording this at 2:25. He runs in about 45 minutes at 3:15. Dutch Decoy. Now, hopefully Owners Group, if it disappoints today at Hamilton, please go to where I'm just about to talk about. Got to go back to Newmarket. So the horse actually won at Newmarket last season in this race on the 22nd of July. Now, on that day, that was actually a Class 2 race. However, this year they've changed the classification of that race and it's now a Class 4 and he doesn't get in. But there is a Class 3 that he could run in instead. It is here. Here it is here. For horses rated 76 to 95. He the last time he ran, he got dropped £1 to 90, so he would get in at Newmarket on the 11th of July. It's over a mile. He's won at the track. I mean, if the ethos behind Owners Group is trying to get wins, you know, and get lots of wins for their owners, surely that's where they've got to go next. If they're just getting them runs and running them here, there and everywhere to get the owners' tickets and go, yeah, you went to see your horse run, we didn't really care that it didn't win, then we might not see it. But if it doesn't run particularly well at Hamilton today, or even if it does and it doesn't move in the handicap much, it's got to go for this race at Newmarket on the 11th of July. He won last year at Newmarket, July, on the 22nd of July, off 90. He's currently rated 90. Everything is perfect to go back there on the 11th of July. We move on. Now we're actually into horses that have dropped £2. And the first one is Brunch. Now, Brunch has dropped £2 for a disappointing run on the all-weather. He finished 6th of 12, comfortably beaten by Elnagem, although to be fair, that horse comfortably beat everything. He was never better than midfield. He never got involved. But just say it was the all-weather, didn't quite work for him. He hadn't actually run on the all-weather since winning at Newcastle back in June 2020 in a median auction stakes. So not really anything to shout home about. I think it's obvious where they've got to go with Brunch, to be honest. I say these horses and I pick out ones that I'm like, it sounds obvious, it looks obvious. I talk about it, I'm sure plenty of you go, yeah, that's really obvious. And then the time comes and they're not in it. And it's like, why are they not running? So where do I want Brunch to go? He's got to go to York on the 22nd of August for the 7 furlong. No, it's not. Yes, it is. The Clipper Handicap Stakes over just shy of a mile. His form at York. Let's have a look at some of his runs at York. He won twice back here in July 2020 and August 2020. They came off marks of 85 and 91. He's now rated 92. So straight away, he's only £1 higher than his last winning run there. But we can then go a little bit further on to his second here. Over this trip of 7 furlongs, 192 yards, he was second off a mark of 101. We then move further forward and we go again 7 furlongs, 192 at York on the May 12th, 2022. That came off a mark of 104. He's rated 92 now. You look up here and you go, but he's got a disappointing run here. He was only third over a mile and 2. He doesn't want a mile and 2. And to be fair, the winner that day was Spirit Dancer off a mark of 97. Do you know that horse is now rated 119 and has actually won a Group 2 in Bahrain, beating Isra. And he's also won recently in a Group 2 at Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Finishing third to him, that wasn't a bad effort. Box to box, to be fair, as well, who was second, was rated 88, now rated 97. After finishing second to Spirit Dancer, did disappoint at York next time out, but went on to win at Chester, finished third at Leicester, has finished second in a handicap in Bahrain, and has the last couple of times finished second at Chester. So that form, when third, over a trip too far, at York, was a very good run. And that came off 101. As I've mentioned, he's 92. Surely, he's got to go for this Clipper Handicap Stakes if he gets in, obviously. Next one is Koy Koy, who's down to 93. He dropped £2 to 93. And he's one that's catching a lot of people's eye, I think. He only went off 9-1 last time out for the Buckingham Palace Stakes at Royal Ascot. He got well supported that day. The time before at Epsom, he got really well supported when we were on. He got backed into 9-2 favourite. Disappointed a little bit. And that came off the back of a decent effort, but only decent at Newmarket when 6th on his return, beaten 2.5 lengths by Carry the One. He's obviously, he is dropping in the handicap down to a mark that looks quite nice. As I mentioned, he's dropped another £2 down to 93, having run off 95 for his 3 runs this season. I would like to see him go to this listed race at Chester for a couple of reasons. It's on the Saturday the 13th of July. If you go and win a listed race, great, you've won a listed race. If it doesn't quite work, he might drop another couple of pound. And there's actually this race here at Chester on the 31st of August. prize money of a total of 100,000, so it's going to be decent prize money for the winner. And yeah, if Koy Koy gets beat in the listed race, he might just drop a couple of pound again, and end up being nicely handicapped for that race at Chester. Why Chester? He's had 2 runs at the course. He finished second at Outgate in a handicap of 90, and then he came back in August 2023, as you can see here. He finished second again off a mark of 93 behind Safe Voyage. Now, Safe Voyage at the time, granted he was 10, but he had dropped a long way in the handicap, back down to 95. He's still rated 100. Yeah, I think we might have even been on Safe Voyage that day at Chester on the basis that he'd got his ground and he'd become nicely handicapped. So Koy Koy finishing second to him was a good effort. And yeah, I think Chester, clearly, he runs well at Chester. Go for the listed. If it works, great. If it doesn't, come back at the end of August for the lucrative handicap. Moving on to Lattam, who's dropped £2. He's now trained by Julie Camacho. Julie has trained the horse officially for his last 3 runs, where started out great, finished second in the Lincoln behind Mr. Professor, ran a really nice race. Despite looking like he was going to finish mid-division, he just ground it out late on to get involved and ended up finishing second. Then went to Newbury on good to soft ground, and I think that didn't suit him, the ground. And again, he just got outpaced before running on moderately late on. 8th of 21 looks a decent run. It wasn't bad at all. And then last time out at Newcastle at the weekend, he finished 5th of 12 off 97. And again, he just looked outpaced at a crucial time before running on through beaten horses or horses that are tired now. And he finished 5th. I really want to see them step him up in trip. I really want to see them run him here in this Coral Chesterfield Cup on Tuesday the 30th of July, over just shy of 1 mile and 2. So it's a nearly 2 furlongs further. Go back to Goodwood. Don't forget, he went off favourite last year in 2023 for the, the Summer Mile, the Golden Mile. He went off the 5-1 favourite, didn't get a run down the inside, but was already being outpaced at the time. He then came back to Goodwood in September, ran a good race, finishing 3rd behind Ross Collin and Hafita Len, in front of the gatekeeper, who had finished 2nd in the Golden Mile, so the form was probably quite strong. And again, he looked outpaced about 4 furlongs to go and just kept plugging on, even on the soft ground. I don't think he wants a mile. I think he wants 1 mile and 2. And I really hope they step him up in trip to this 1 mile and 2 race. Good prize money. It's for 4-year-olds and older, so you won't bump into one of those stupidly unexposed 3-year-olds. And yeah, I think he's got himself, he's down to 95. I don't think this horse has reached his potential. And maybe it's the trip that's catching them out. And, because he's won over 1 mile and he's gone close over 1 mile, like in the Spring Cup, they're keeping him at the wrong trip. I think he wants to go up in trip to 1 mile and 2. We move on to Summerghand, who I've just talked about Lattam needing to go up in trip. Summerghand needs to go back in trip. 7 furlongs is not what he wants. He acts fine over 6. Interestingly, he also runs tomorrow at Thirsk. Potentially one that could go well, I guess, at Thirsk tomorrow. I'm just going to have a little look on my other screen what it is. Class 3. Yeah, he could go really well, to be honest. He is 4-1 joint favourite at the moment, and I think he'll run a nice race. They're going to have to start finding a race that he can win if they want to get him back into the races that he should be ending the season on. And he should be ending them in the Skybet Dash. He was 4th in it last year. The Great St Wilfrid, he was 2nd, beaten by a very well handicapped Sophia Starlight, and I don't think he got the best of runs through that day. He then dead heated in the Skybet Constantine Handicap back at York, before then disappointing in the Ayr Gold Cup, finishing last of 24, but clearly something went wrong that day. He has gone close. He's actually won the Ayr Gold Cup back in 2022. So you can ignore that run, but that's definitely where he's got to end up. They should be his last 4 runs of his career, in my opinion. The Skybet Dash, the Great St Wilfrid, the Constantine Handicap, the Ayr Gold Cup. He is 10. Hopefully, tomorrow might be a run that they're trying to get him back up the weights to get him in a race that is worth actually retiring in, sort of thing. having dropped down to a dangerously low 91, it could be that he might not get in those races I've just mentioned, and he needs to win something to go back up in the handicap. Got to remember, last year, as I said, he finished fourth in the Sky Bet Dash off 97. So even if he won tomorrow and went up, say, £3, it'd still only be 94. You would still hope he goes really close in the Sky Bet Dash, the Great St Wilfrid, the Constantine Handicap. 102 last year's Constantine Handicap, and he won the Air Gold Cup the year before off 102. So he's definitely well handicapped. Just wants 6 furlongs and just wants things to drop well. Just having a look to see if he's ever run at Thirsk before. I always never understand this. He's 10 years old. He's never been to Thirsk, and they're running him at Thirsk. Okay, it might work, but why don't they find a race that actually he's performed well at the track before? I say that he'll probably be one of my naps tomorrow, along with the other one that's running tomorrow. Who did I say it was? Mr. Wagyu at Epsom. And yeah, if he runs well tomorrow and gets in those races, I think he will be very interesting going forward, even as a 10-year-old. Moving on to the third to last one, Vintage Clarets dropped £2 to 94. Somebody actually asked me a few days ago, what do you do with him now? And I say exactly the same as what I said before. You go to this race here on the 13th of July. It's 6 furlongs at Ascot, 5 furlongs at Ascot, sorry. That's what I think he wants. I think he's very good over 5 furlongs. It's the same race as what he ran in last year. He was beaten off 95, only beaten into third, 1.25 lengths behind the Big Board and Badri. Yeah, that's surely where we see Vintage Clarets, and hopefully he can bounce back from a couple of disappointing runs. His run at Chester 3 runs ago was decent, so it's not like he's bang out of form. 2 to go. The penultimate one is Harry 3, who's actually dropped 3. He dropped £3 to 101, and it could just be that he's not the same horse that he was. Obviously, you can see his form was very good. Third, second, first, including wins at Newmarket and York in 2022. He then disappointed behind Minzao in a Group 1. Group 1, he was 6th. And then his 2 comeback runs this season after 630 days off the track. He was 4th of 6 in a listed race, and then well beaten at Ascot in the Wokingham off a mark of 104. But again, Ryan Moore was booked to ride. I think Ryan would want to ride something that had a big chance. This one disappointed. Where do you go with him next? This one you do go to the Sky Bet Dash. Why? Well, he's got a win to his name at York over 6. He won at York over 6, beat Lucky Man. I think Lucky Man actually went on to do quite well after that, didn't he? He was rated 87. Let's just have a look. Lucky Man. Where was he beaten? Who was he beaten by? Harry 3. Harry 3 then went back to York for the Sky Bet Dash in July 2022. Finished 2nd. He then went to York again for another handicap and won off 91. He went up to a mark of 96 in the end. Harry 3, yes, Harry 3 was winning off 97, but he's only going to be running off 101, and he comfortably beat Lucky Man that day. Got to go for that Sky Bet Dash, stick him in the handicap again, go back to York where you know he runs well, and hopefully he can run another big race for Clive Cox and bounce back and prove that he's not lost all of his ability. That's on the 27th of July, and the final horse is Tactical, who's dropped £3, now trained by Julie Camacho. Been with Julie a little while. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 runs now. Let's make it 10th time lucky for Julie Camacho. Where do you go? I mean, this one really stands out for me. Ascot. When trained by Andrew Balding, let's have a look at some of his form at Ascot. He finished 6th on his last run at Ascot, off a mark of 103. Beaten 1 length in total by those in front. Fresh, Silent Film, River Nymph, Star of Orion, Ropey Guest. Just 1 length in total behind was Tactical, ridden by Ryan Moore. Off 103. He's now rated 80. We go back to another previous run in the Buckingham Palace Stakes over 7 furlongs. He was 6th, beaten 2.25 lengths, off 105. He's also finished 7th of 18 mid-division in a Group 3. And he's won the Windsor Castle Stakes. Went off the 7-2 favourite that day, winning the Windsor Castle at Ascot. His form at Ascot is good. off significantly higher marks. 12th of 21 wasn't bad in the Moët and Chandon, off 104. He's rated 80 now. Got to go for this race here. 7 furlongs. Horse is rated 61 to 80. If he runs here and disappoints, then you give up with him. You know, that's it with tactical. You know, even if you go and wins a race, you go, yeah, well, we'll let him win races now. If he ran in that race, potentially £23 lower than when he finished 6th in a feature handicap, I mean, surely he would take all the beating on the 13th of July for Julie Camacho. That's where he's got to go. And yeah, I'd be very, very confident of a huge run, to be honest. So there's some horses for tomorrow. As I said, I will put them into chapters at the bottom, so you can skip to a horse if you're looking for a particular horse. And hopefully a lot of these go in these races. I do try and make sure that they're not all being aimed at the same races as well. But I also give you reasons why they should be aimed at the races that I like. I don't just go, he should run at Ascot. Why? Has he done anything before there? Has he shown any form on similar tracks? Or does his sire produce progeny that run well at Ascot? I want to give you more than just let's go to Ascot because that race is the right distance, which is what I think a lot of trainers do, unfortunately. They find a race, they go, my horse can get in here, it's a 0 to 90, race at Newmarket, let's run there. And you look back through the form and you see that he's been to Newmarket 3 times before and he's been well beaten all 3 times. He's been to Ascot 3 times, he's had 2 wins and a third. Same type of quality of race on the same day, and yet they've gone to Newmarket because Newmarket came up first for them, or it was 2 days before. They're like, yeah, let's go to Newmarket then. I really do think some trainers don't look properly into even their own horse's previous form at tracks and future races. But anyway, enough of that. Let's hope some of these go in these races and can run some big races.